Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. I come home. Number one trending topic on Twitter today is John Morrison. I was trying to figure out what the hell it honestly could have been. John Morrison freaking signed a deal to return to WWE. I'm honestly ecstatic about this. I think this is going to be really awesome. Although immediately I come in, with those sort of like, you never know what's going to happen in WWE. They could bring this guy in and he could be the next. I was going to say, I think of like the last few people that like were in WWE that like left and came back. Honestly, the one, bright spot you can point to is Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal won the WWE Championship. He won the United States Championship. He wrestled on the WrestleMania card. But then there's also like the Kurt Hawkins of the world, who has never won a match in WWE in a singles match. He has won a tag title with Zack Ryder, that sort of reunited them. It got them to where they now host a podcast. They wrestle on house shows. It's almost like the B team. It's like they had a little bit of a run, and now they can be featured on house shows. And it's kind of like, I don't remember the last time I saw you on television, but I'll be excited when you come around. But probably if Kurt Hawkins didn't re-sign with WWE, we never would have gotten the wrestling podcast they have now talking about wrestling figures, which I don't even buy wrestling figures. I do like to look at them when I go into stores, but I find myself listening to the podcast because it's honestly a pretty good podcast. It comes with pretty good interviews. They talk about things that I remember from my childhood. It's pretty fun. But, when it comes to John Morrison, I always thought it was a possibility that it honestly could happen, but I always sort of looked at him that I thought he liked being that big fish in a small pond. I thought he liked wrestling for Impact Wrestling because that gave him time where he could go make Dog the Bounty Hunter movies or whatever the heck that thing was called. But when John was in WWE, he was honestly one of the best mid-card guys that there was on the roster. Easily, you could sort of refer to him as like, what Kofi Kingston was, a guy that just, rocked it for the Intercontinental Championship all the time. And maybe if John would have stayed, he would have got his chance to go after the WWE Championship. I remember that last little run he was on, he was in that three-way for the WWE Championship with The Miz and John Cena right after WrestleMania 27. I remember him going and having a Raw main event for the WWE Championship against The Miz, and I honestly thought there was a really good chance that he could win that match, even if it was just sort of like a, Rock versus Mankind deal, kind of like where, Morrison would win the championship for The Miz and then maybe lose it 2 weeks later, and they could still, get that push towards WrestleMania, because honestly, we all knew that Miz was going to face Cena. But, we weren't going to have Miz versus Cena on Monday Night Raw, and it gives you sort of like a before Mania sort of series of matches for The Miz, and it honestly would have been able to elevate Morrison. There's a good chance that maybe Morrison is going to NXT. That's probably would be the best place to put him, because that's a place that you can push him as a star. He can go in there and have really good matches against guys like Donovan Dijak, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Adam Cole. These are guys that really could be able to show how good John Morrison is. If he goes to Raw, there's a good chance he still just gets pushed into that pigeonhole of the United States Championship and the Intercontinental title. But I'm just pumped that I get to see this guy wrestle week in and week out, because the few times that I have been able to catch his matches or see highlights or GIFs on Twitter, I've been pumped. You go back, this. I haven't been pumping it as of late, but back in the day when John Morrison was in WWE, this was my guy. So I'm pumped he's coming back.